Welcome back to the channel. This is probably going to be my favorite of the whole series. This part of my career where I was out in the field doing the construction commissioning startup of the 2 polyethylene trains. It's going to be very high level. I don't have enough time to go into the detail of all the cool stories that I have from this, but maybe one day I'll dive in a little bit deeper. But basically 6 months into the biggest project of my life, I walked up to 4 men who would change everything. I called them Flash Gordon, Big Daddy Haddy, Rev Kev, and Rhone. They looked at me with my harness on and my backpack loaded and said, "We're gonna call you Superman because there isn't anything you can't do." That name followed me for the rest of my time on that site and then when I worked for CPChem. And I wanna tell you exactly how I got that name and what it took to get it. So back in January 2016, 2 years of engineering and design complete at Technip. Jack had made sure my name was on that field assignment list when it almost wasn't. Go back and check out the 4th video I posted about this if you haven't seen it yet. But now, I'm walking out of that Technip office for the last time, hard hat in hand, black Oakley backpack on my back, drawings under my arm, heading towards the CPChem Sweeney polyethylene expansion project. It was called U.S. Gulf Coast. 2 polyethylene trains being built from the ground up. I'd spent 2 years learning how to see the field in every drawing I touched. Now it was time to find out if everything I'd learned actually worked. The structures weren't sold off to the client yet because there was no guardrails in place. And if you went into any of the structures on that site, you wore a harness. I wore mine for 13 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 months straight. Rev Kev told me later that the first 6 months he knew me, he didn't know what I looked like without a harness on. And the black Oakley kitchen sink backpack that I always wore, with my Fluke 789 laptop, my screwdrivers, my 5x20 fuses, my ferrules, my crimper, my stripper, my label maker, you name it. People called it my battery pack. It was kind of like the Energizer Bunny because I never stopped. One of the first people I connected with on that site was Chris Haddy. Chris, Big Daddy Haddy. He was the CPChem IEC and analyzer maintenance supervisor. He was super talented. He was my go-to for anything that touched instruments, electrical or analyzers. When something was giving me trouble, Chris was the call. When I needed to get something done in the field that required CPChem muscle, Chris had my back. We leaned on each other throughout all of construction and built a friendship that went way beyond the project. And he's the man who introduced me to Rhone. Chris usually was part of the loop cell meetings, and he'd help me work through the loops with the issues and get sign-off from the client side. He brought in his lead instrument tech to help fix what needed fixing. That tech walked right through the room wearing a Texas A&M maroon hat. Rhone Watts was his name. His daughters had gone to A&M or were still attending A&M, and I also went to A&M. That hat sparked a conversation that turned into one of the most important professional relationships of my career. From that day forward, Rhone and I worked together constantly, and we were about to become dangerous in a good way. There wasn't anything Rhone and I couldn't fix. That's not bragging. That's just the truth of what that combination produced. Rhone had the field experience and the instrument tech instinct. I had the engineering background and knew how the documentation flowed. He'd get everything working, I'd assist him in the process, and then I'd knock out the complete red line package to document it. That combination doesn't slip schedule. And on a project with over 27,000 instruments and one startup date, not slipping the schedule meant everything. And then there was Rev Kev, Kevin Meismer, I&E planner. He was a cap contractor. Rhone introduced us on site, and within about 30 seconds, Rev Kev was already mid-story. That man always had a great story to tell, and the stories were always gold. But more than the entertainment value, Rev Kev set the key plan that set Rhone and me up for success. He knew how to sequence the work, how to prioritize the punch list, how to keep the field moving. The three of us spent so much time together chasing that 200K club that we became great friends, and that friendship still runs good today. Let me put this project into perspective. Over 27,000 instruments, over 16,000 loops, 2 polyethylene trains being built from what used to be a parking lot. This was the balance of plant, the outside battery limits, the vendor skids, the RIEs, the MCCs, the miles of cable. Every wire terminated correctly, every loop checked, every function test tested. Every vendor PLC had to talk back to the Yokogawa DCS the way it was supposed to. One startup date, August 2017. The schedule didn't negotiate. You either hit it or you didn't. And every decision I made for the next 2.5 years was pointed at that date. On top of everything happening in the field, I was running a team. 2 instrument designers out of our Houston Technip office and 3 engineers/designers out of our Mumbai, India Technip office. I was giving packages out to the team. They were getting me reports back, and we were making sure as a team nothing fell through the cracks. That was my morning, sometimes 2 to 3 hours of meetings before I ever set foot in the field for the day. Then I grabbed my backpack and went to work. The daily rhythm never changed. I was on site before my team every single morning. Empty parking lot at sunrise, that was mine. Then morning meetings, discipline, communication, accountability, ownership, results. Then field walks with the construction crew to verify what was getting installed, match what was on the drawings. Then back in for follow-ups, and then every evening, Rhone, Kevin, and sometimes Chris, we would work through what we were tackling next, then do it all again tomorrow for 2.5 years. The hardest battles on that project weren't the instruments. The instruments we could handle. The hardest battles were the vendor PLCs to DCS communications. Wrong IP addresses, unassigned ports, Modbus register maps that didn't match what was in the database, Ethernet port configurations that nobody had aligned with the vendor's documentation. There were 2 packages that gave us the most hell, and here's the problem with the communication failures. When the vendor PLC isn't talking to the DCS, you can't sell the loop. And when you can't sell the loop, you can't move to functional checks. And when that slips, everything downstream slips with it. None of this would have happened without the people. Benny and Jason were my go-to for electrical. Rich and Ryan for instrumentation. These were CPChem techs who knew that site and showed up every single day. JJ Watts from Sabre Power tested every motor, every transformer, every MCC on that site. That man carried the electrical testing. And then there were Omar, Miguel, and Tony, 3 Kent's instrument techs who carried us through the back half of loop checks and all the way through functional testing. They were funny as hell, but they worked even harder. 3 of the best instrument techs I've ever worked with in my career. 2,000 plus hours of overtime in 2016. Another 2,000 plus hours of overtime in 2017. Let that sink in. Straight time, no premium pay, just what the schedule demanded. You don't log that kind of time because you have to. You log it because the date on that board says August 2017, and there are 16,000 loops between you and that date. Every day the calendar on the wall had another X on it, one day closer. Notes were on my desk all the time, to never settle and to finish strong. That wasn't a poster, that was my only option. I need to be honest about what this cost. My daughter Zoe was born in March of 2016, right in the middle of all of it. The hardest stretch of my career and the most important moment of my life happened at the same time. I miss moments I'll never get back. On the site side, I was the man wearing a harness in the rain at night still working. On the home side was Hillary holding a newborn Zoe, while the boys did homework at the kitchen table. I carried the financial load, she carried everything else. And I mean everything. Hillary was my rock through those 2 years in a way I can never fully put into words. But every single night, I drove home. It was around 55 miles each way. After a 12-hour day, because Zoe needed to be rocked to sleep and I wasn't going to miss that. I'd walk in the door, I'd pick her up, sit in that rocking chair, and hold her until she fell asleep. Half the time, I fell asleep right there with her. And then the 4:30 alarm would go off on my phone, and I'd get up, get dressed, get something to eat, get back in that car, and drive 55 miles back to site. And I did that every single night. I'd do it the same way every time. That rocking chair is the chapter I hold on to the most from those 2 years. October 2016, we bought our first house. We moved out of the apartment from the Technip chapter, the place I used to walk to work from. Now we had a home, a real home, for Hillary, for the boys, for Zoe. Our boxes were stacked up for a while, the for sale sign showing that we had purchased the home in the yard. All that overtime, all that straight time overtime, all the 4:30 alarms, it was buying something real. And standing in front of that house with my family, that made every long day mean something. We were weeks from startup. Everything was converging. Everything looks like it was going as planned. The punch list was getting shorter every day. And then Hurricane Harvey hit. Brazoria County, which was the county where Sweeney's site sits, took a direct hit. The roads were flooded. High water was everywhere. There were closed road signs up across every route to the site. No site access for about 5 to 6 days for the majority of us. And here's the thing about the startup date. It didn't move. The date didn't care about Harvey. We couldn't get to it, the site. But 5 to 6 days of watching the calendar while floodwater set between us and the finish line was a tough pill to swallow. Once we got the green light to get back on site, we were back. Morning meetings with the issue list and final punch list assigned before anyone had their second cup of coffee. Crews were moving out the door with assignments in hands. Anything that had been replaced during the storm or the downtime got refunction tests. We couldn't take any shortcuts. The whiteboard that we had in the main meeting room said it plainly: don't hope, verify. Keith came in from CPChem leadership to help push commissioning across the finish line. He had the authority and the experience to help close out what we needed closing. That crew didn't flinch, not one day. They came back from Harvey like it was just another morning meeting. Late August 2017, the control room. The operators at the Yokogawa DCS consoles. Screens coming alive. Train 1 and Train 2 overview online. Plant status. All systems go. Startup sequence complete. Ready for production. The finishing area showing that we were ready to load pellets into those silos and get the rail cars loaded and out. Rhone and I were standing in the back of that room watching it happen. Every loop we had sold, every comms battle we won, every mile driven home to rock Zoe to sleep, every 4:30 alarm, every X on the calendar, every hour of overtime that didn't come with a premium pay, all of it came down to this. The 2 trains came up. All our hard work had paid off. June 2018, CPChem finally called. They couldn't afford to lose me because I was about to go to Sasol for Technip. So they offered me a position in the SIS PLC group. The site I helped build from a parking lot was now running. All systems nominal, production online. And the client who watched me do it wanted me on their team. I was about to join 3 of the most talented people I would ever work alongside. Cool, Vince, and Jason. The next chapter, the SIS team, what I built there, what I learned, and why I laughed. That story's next week. So remember, guys, stay built different. And remember, my name Superman was earned one hard day at a time. So guys, tune in, and I'll see you again next week.
January wind coming off the Gulf, dark sky before the dawn. Hard hat hanging by the front seat, coffee already gone. Black Oakley backpack packed for battle, harness hanging by the door. Every morning felt like game day, walking into another war. Steel above, mud below, miles of cable in the tray. Everybody knew the startup date, nobody knew how we'd make the day. Most days nobody noticed, just another hard hat in the crowd, until the problems got big enough that somebody had to figure them out. They call me Superman, 'cause I was always there, first one in, last one out, still hanging in the air when the rain came down. When the startup hit the fan, I throw that backpack on, clip my harness in, and climb again. They call me Superman. I just hated leaving things broke. Flash Gordon ran operations, Rev Kev built every plan. Big Daddy Haddy held the line, while Rhone taught me how to stand. 27,000 instruments, 16,000 loops to prove. Every day another fire, every day another move. Back home, Hillary held the family while I chased another deadline. Watching Zoe through a phone screen, wishing I could freeze the time. Pictures sent at midnight, videos before first light. The startup took everything I had, but somehow she held us tight. 2,000 overtime hours, 7 days every week. The startup date wasn't moving, no matter how tired we'd be. They call me Superman, 'cause I was always there, first one in, last one out, still hanging in the air when the rain came down. When the startup hit the fan, I throw that backpack on, clip my harness in, and climb again. They call me Superman. I just hated leaving things broke. Hillary was raising our daughter while I was raising these trains. Both of us carrying something heavy, both of us feeling the strain. Phone calls from a scaffold, pictures through a screen. Some dreams cost more than money, sometimes they cost time you can't keep. Construction, commissioning, startup, optimization, day after day, problem after problem, until the impossible started feeling normal. Flash Gordon said it, Rev Kev said it, Big Daddy Haddy said it, Rhone said it. Superman, Superman, Superman. Funny thing is, I never felt like Superman. I just couldn't walk past the problem and leave it broke. They call me Superman, 'cause I was always there, first one in, last one out, still hanging in the air when the alarms were screaming. When the startup hit the wall, I throw that backpack on, clip my harness in, and answer every call. August finally came, 2 polyethylene trains alive. Every loop checked, every problem soft, every sacrifice justified. They called me Superman, but every person on that site was built different. Gulf Coast sunset, orange on steel, Zoe in a rocking chair, Hillary keeping the light on still. The trains kept running long after we were gone. They called me Superman. I just couldn't walk past a problem and leave it broke. Built different, built different.